Nice. Okay, let's start with a few moments of Zazen. An opportunity to open our awareness, tune in, noticing the body, noticing how the body's holding itself. See if you can release those holdings and just allow your skeletal structure to support you. Let the muscles relax off those bones. So not using the muscles to have posture, not holding to have posture, but simply using awareness and tension to align the skeletal structure. Nice and vertical, bone on top of bone. And let the muscles hang off that. Not unlike wet laundry hanging off clothesline. So developing that internal awareness, getting deeper and deeper and finer in the body with your awareness. Notice any holdings and release those. Fine point about alignment, structural alignment. It's a sense of having the chin slightly down so the back of the neck is not bent back at all. That's close to being vertically straight. Another way we often describe that is crown of the head is pointing directly to the ceiling. As the shoulders fall away from the ears, just release the abdomen. And consciously releasing tension on each exhale. In line with that image of muscles just hanging off the bones, wet laundry hanging off its structured support, let that weight settle underside. It's like a pebble dropping through the water and eventually settling on the silt at the bottom of the lake. Then our energy and our muscles do the same thing, settling down, but our structure stays the same, nice and open. And maintaining that settledness or weight underside as we press into the ground, let the ground push us up, press down to the ground to send that leg up, press down the ground to. And as we stand, have that same settledness, weight underside, feel your fingertips. Nice imagery. Another imagery is helpful with water dripping off the fingertips. That creates immediately a sense of weight underside. Go a little further with that imagery, you might imagine water dripping off the body all over. Again, that creates a nice settledness, a nice relaxing imagery. And especially on the out breath, see if you can get more releasing attention or more water drops rolling off the body or rolling off the body more quickly. And go even a step further with that imagery, you can imagine the water drips off your fingertips or off the body, hits the ground, and the water disappears into the soil right under the feet. And as best you can, maintaining that all openness, yet that settled drippingness, weight underside or drippingness, as we go into some movement. And notice when you pull away from the quality of this dripping, settled or weight underside. Or come into the holding that we talked about in Zazen and the seated posture, opening back into holding. And see if you can just be vertical, open, resting, settled. And what's the contrast between that and holding in, holding on? A big part of that is coming back to the abdomen over and over again, consciously releasing the abdomen. And see how much you can release, especially on the out breath. And take that into a little bit more movement, a little wider. So we had a waist shift. And again, notice tightening that happen, the holding that happen. Now that we're doing larger movement, a very notorious area is the lower back. It's curved here. We want it to be long, almost straight. These muscles for most people have become very tight, very short. And we want to open that up, just like we open up the back of the neck. Open the chin, dropping the tailbone, opens up the lower back. So the chin slightly drop, tailbone drop, pointing towards the ground. So in particular, when we're doing something with a wider stance and we're shifting weight, we'll tend to be tight here. And when you're tight back there, and most people are chronically tight there all the time, so they don't know they're tight. This is their state. When you're tight here, you raise the center of gravity, you actually lock up the whole body. If you're tight here, you're going to be tight in the shoulders, you're going to be tight in the neck, jaw. The cascade effect. If you're tight here, you're locked up everywhere. You're locked here, you're locked up globally. Once you start to release and open this, that also can have a cascade effect, so other joints can start to open. Another step along the way is, can I use the ground to move me rather than me move me? For me to move me, I have to contract and tight and hold on. If I use larger forces, I use nature, use earth, larger force, let earth move me, let the floor move me. I press down, that long lengthness, hangingness, pressing down, the ground moves me. So then I don't have to hold as much because I can use larger force to move me. And a big long stance forward and back. How much can I release, open, relax, and not do up here? And how much can I make my doing more pristine, more pure, more refined? I'm just pressing down to send me back, down to send me forward. Side. And even switching your feet, use the same process we use coming up. Seated, press into the ground. Use the ground to put my legs. Everything I do, I can align myself so the ground moves me and gravity works more cleanly through me. So then the ground can give me more force. The ground can move me more powerfully if I'm very vertical and open, because gravity is working more directly to the ground. The ground can then therefore move more directly and efficiently through me. Releasing the abdomen always helps. How much can you let go and release those shoulder joints? Back's flat. Okay. Equal awareness and stretch through both arms. Always equal. No matter if they're going in different directions, even if they seem to have different shape, different placement, different direction, equal awareness through both arms and hands. And to the back corner, again, equally through both arms. Energize your hand blade, right through the little finger. I'll turn sideways just so you can see, but you can do it straight towards the camera. But so you can see I have a fairly long stance, not too short. Push the hips forward, nice big arc. Arching back and taking care to not hold the breath. Keep the body open and stretch. And big arc forward, down. Stretching the back of that front leg. Breathing the whole way. Drop the knee down. Push the hips forward, stretch the front of that hip. And you can do a little arch here if you like. Big arc down. Send that leg out on the heel, stretch the back of that leg again. Flat. And dropping the elbows towards the floor inside that leg or as close to it as comfortable. So don't overreach. Maybe only go down part way. But focus on releasing and relaxing right in the hip joint here, hip flexor. And up. And we'll do the other side. So feet flat, big heart, energizing the hand blades. Breathing as you stretch back. Keep your body open. Let the key flow will be free to the body. And arch forward. Big reach forward. Down, stretching the back of that front leg. Back knees down. Pressing the hips forward. Add an arch if you like. And extending that front leg, the heel, gently stretching the back of that leg again. And flat foot, again dropping the elbows towards the floor inside that leg. Yeah. I call this a frog stance. So if you're not that flexible here, you can start with palms together. Go push the knees out. Hopping like a frog is optional. And if that's not too severe of a stretch for you, you can put fist in the palm, basic martial salute. Further, and then you can press one way and lean the other. Extra stretch in that one hip. And then press the other way with the other elbow, lean the other way. Center. Hands in front, and you lean your upper body forward between the knees without rounding your back, extending from the hips, and upper body comes between the knees. So you can stay with that or adjust as you need to. You have the flexibility, you can bring your hands back, bring the feet, and use your elbows to press your knees out. Good, and sitting on your butt, and knees out. Again, pressing the knees down. Okay, so a little bit of basic ukemi and also part of our warm-up. Roll backs. So feet on the line, center line, hands out along center line. Your arms are matching your feet. Turn sideways just so it's clear for newer people. So basically roll back, our back's rounded, so tuck our chin, face our head well on the chest. right on the chest here. So any momentum won't pull it back, it's pulled into the chest. And to start with, we'll keep the legs the same. We won't switch them yet. Everything stays the same. I simply put my head on the chest, around my back, I roll back, and I roll forward. And when we come forward, we'll work on the mental aspect as well. Strong forward flow, again, key, strong intentional current will bring the body forward. So you rotate at the hips. So again, not rounding the back, so not like this, rotating at the hips. And your mental current strongly flowing forward is what's going to bring you forward. So that'll look like this. Tuck your chin. Extend forward, extend forward, extend forward. I keep everything the same. And I extend forward, extend forward, extend forward. So when you come forward, just before you start physically rolling forward, you send your mind forward. You throw your attention forward. So working on that strong forward flow, just like holding a bokken. When you come forward, try to touch the screen of the laptop, computer, without rounding the back, but flexing at the hips. Try to touch that screen, send your mind strongly forward. Okay. So remember, first thing, tuck your chin, head on the chest. So each, knee, on. So those of you with more experience and you've worked with bokken or even a katana, really energize your hand blades and your fingertips. You're basically doing a showman cut. And coordinating that action cut just before you come up with your mental extension, just before you start to roll forward, gives you a lot of mental and physical momentum. If I turn a slight angle, you can see my arms aren't rigid and dead. They're actually alive, just like I'm doing cuts with the bokken or the katana. So it looks like this. So you can think of fingertips up as you go back, sword tips up as you go back, sword tips down as you go forward, cutting, if you're doing a cut to gate on. And just that change from here to here can be a lot of powerful momentum adding to your movement. So I tuck my chin and I raise the tips and I cut down with the tips. So if you have more experience, you've done a lot of these before, you can add that refinement. And again, just that action there, coordinated well, the timing is well, timed well with the body movement and the mind. Just this creates a lot of power and a lot of momentum, a lot of energy. So each and extend well forward. Knee. There's a coordination there, timing, thump. Feet. Go. Rope. See? Okay. Now let's switch to the other side. So you have the other foot forward, other foot back. Arms match the legs. Again, with more experience, really energized. So you take a katana, really, really sharp, really, really pointy. Sharp point, sharp edges. Put the head on the chest, roll on the rounded back. Again, those of you with more experience, focus on vertebrae at a time. So that gets again deeper with our awareness, getting deeper with the mind, body connecting. So the mind-body connection and refined gets deeper. Our ability to think our awareness into the tissues of the body, structure of the body, that improves, that increases. So if my knuckles were my vertebrae, one vertebrae at a time, one vertebrae at a time, one vertebrae at a time. Of course, at first, you won't have the refinement to sense one vertebrae at a time. It'll be chunks at a time, 3 or 4 vertebrae at a time. But eventually, you'll be able to sense and feel one vertebrae rolling on the floor at a time. And as we have talked about before, literally the floor can be massaging the back and the vertebrae of the back, releasing the muscular tension hold and actually starting to articulate and open up the space between the vertebrae, literally being massaged like a bicycle chain. It's one link at a time. And as you know, on a chain, there's a flexibility there. Even in a fairly snugly, tautly wound up bicycle chain, it's still flexible. That's how we want our spine to be. It's not loose in that it's losing structure, but like a bicycle chain, it's very taut, but it's also very flexible. So we can get that back through all these different things we do. And specifically, this exercise can be very therapeutic in that way for the spine. So those of you with more experience, work on one vertebrae at a time and one vertebrae at a time. To go a little step further with this, when you're doing ukemi, even when you're being thrown, you literally can be propelled up from the ground because of your timing of your mind and your body, and you can be propelled off the ground. So at first, of course, it's just this fairly passive rolling and pressing and massaging of the vertebrae, but eventually with timing and intention, you can be popped right off and down and popped right up. So that literally when you come up off the ground after you've been thrown or after you do your own roll, through coordination and timing of mind and body and all parts of the body, you can actually access a lot of momentum, a lot of power, and literally be propelled up, just like we're propelled up by the ground and sitting, propelled up by the ground and standing. We started class with that work and that awareness. Literally the ground supports us, not us holding on, not us holding up. The ground supports us in our movement. Shifting weight, the ground shifts our weight. So this is a further dynamic aspect of that, that literally I can be popped up. I have to do my work with my mind and my body, coordination and timing, and that's my work. But then I let the ground pop me up once I have that ability, that timing, mechanics. Then I can connect to this larger reality, this larger force, and add so much more to what just I could do. Okay, so each. So this is the other side now. Eat. Pop. Energize the hand blades. Eat. Wear the vertebrae. Pop. Eat. Do a few more on your own. Work on the timing. Okay, now, just before we move on from this, another little refinement that we'll do. What I'd like you to do now is get the whole rolling back and rolling forward just by doing this. And that's totally possible. Again, feels very good and very minimal effort. That requires connecting everything and timing everything, connecting the whole body, connecting the mind and body, timing the whole body, timing the mind and body, timing the intention with the body. So if, maybe I don't know if it'll come across very well visually, but if I focus on literally just this action here, and I'm actually going to do it just from the wrist, so not a full Shoman, or you can actually start with the full Shoman using your arms. That would be easier to start with, but you can get where just this action here is doing the whole movement. So just pointing my fingers forward is enough to bring me forward. Just pointing my fingers back. And just flicking my fingers forward, almost flopping on my face forward. That's just bringing the timing together, coordination together, the whole body and the mind in the body, and just literally flicking my fingers forward is enough to pop me right onto my face if I were to let it. So that's just refining the connection and timing. So try a few on your own where you're just using this free, it's very small, but free movement, and then getting the timing and the connection. So that little movement is driving a large movement and a very powerful movement. Okay. Now, when you come forward, you come all the way up. So here into a forward stance, ready stance. So I'll show you from the side. Start from down here again. So roll back, roll forward, into ready stance, slightly forward. Then I'm going to go back down into that roll. Then forward into a ready stance. Then back down to that roll. Ready stance. So there's a lot of mechanics there, a lot of steps in there, especially if you're new. So let's approach that fairly detailed to start with. So I'll turn sideways just so that you can see better. Again, forward stance, and we come back to a forward stance. And kneel down, just like we did for our warm-ups, but what's going to be different is that I swing my lower leg away so that I can have my butt sit onto the floor. I don't want to sit onto my ankle and foot. That's going to hurt the joints. So part of the backward ukemi, backward roll, getting that lower leg out of the way. So my butt has direct access to the floor. Again, head on the chest. Coordinate everything to come forward very strongly, like we did in class. Bending forward. Send your mind strongly forward. That'll help you come up. And raise stance. So kneeling down, getting that foot out of the way. Head on the chest. Extend forward even as you go back. Extending forward will get my body this way, a safer angle. If I don't extend forward, my head is up here, going towards the ground. Having a strong forward flow will get my body in a good angle and position. Another example of strong forward flow tends to set everything up very well. If I don't have a strong forward flow, I teeter from very high, my head going towards the ground. If I have a strong forward flow, creates a better angle for my body, so my head is safe, and come in. So try a couple on your own. Take your time to get that. And then work the other side if you haven't. Once you have a sense of it, again, you can coordinate all those things. Cutting of the boken, or raising the fingertips up and back, and then cutting the fingertips forward and down. Strong forward flow is a big part of what we're developing here. Strong intentional current forward. And you'll notice how much that forward attention can spring you forward. Throw your attention forward, and that literally can throw you forward into the standing. Keeping your forward attention as you step back and kneel down keeps your head safe away from the ground. Keeps that forward attitude physically so you're not falling back towards your head. That's right, Breton. That's the right idea. Good job. Okay, so let's move on to some program work. So let's do Kankan Undo 90 degrees. So basic your white belt program. So start with a forward stance. Finish in a forward stance. So right now, basic program, we emphasize that forward attitude, forward stance, without leaning. We don't want to compromise our structure, posture. So we're vertical, but the weight is technically slightly forward. Nice sharp projection. And we do the Minucci movement coming from the legs, coming from the feet as we do that. So back comes up, drives the arms up into a big arc, back, draws the arms down, a big arc. Big an arc as you can make without locking your elbows. Let's do a few together. So each count is there and back. Take a moment to hang vertically, weight drops to the hips and legs freely, free weight drop. Maintain the structure, soft open joints. Neat. Neat. On. Sheet. Rope. Rope. Okay, so let's do the 90-degree. So as you step with the back foot, you turn on the ball of the foot as it lands, turn on the ball of the foot as it lands, and keep the weight in the front leg because we're emphasizing that forward stance. Step with the back foot, turn on the ball as you step, full 180 degrees. Again, stepping, the feet drive the arms in that big arc. Each, and back, knee, and back, on, sheet, go. So Brett, and keep your hands out further away. Yeah, bigger stretch with the arms. Teach. Touch. Ooh. Two. Good. That's looking very good. Looking very good. Okay, now let's take this Tenkan window into the next program level. No one here officially is working on this level, but it's the step further in that same movement where we add a slide step. So rather than just step, 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 I'm going to step, slide, step back, slide, step forward, step, step, slide, step back. So I have a big, strong here in me and a big, strong sliding back. So we're covering ground. Again, not leading. See if I can just move the platform. Just move the platform. The shape stays the same. This is going to be the same movement here. So more experienced people, once you do a couple and you know you have a sense of the floor covering and the movement, see how much ground you can cover without compromising yourself by leaning forward or leaning back or jerking or lunging. See how pristine you can be, but covering more ground. Okay, so there and back on one count. So with the slide step. So each, sliding back, sliding in, knee, sliding up, sliding back, sliding up, sliding back. On. Feet. Go. Rope. Each. Touch. So let's do that for the 180 degree. So if I just do the footwork and not the arms right now for illustration, I slide step back, slide step in, slide step back. So I'll show you from the side actually. Slide step, slide step back, slide step in, slide step back. How much ground can I cover without lunging? So again, I'm using the ground, right? Pressing into the ground sends me forward. Settle back into the ground through that leg and foot. Pressing into the ground propels me forward. Pressing into the ground propels me forward. And then I settle back into the ground through my structure. Using my structure to press into the ground, I'm popped, propelled, settle back through the structure into the ground. So that's the refinement to work on for more experienced people. So there and back, each, big slide step in. Knee, slide step back. On. Sheet. Go. rope. Teach. Touch. Okay. Checking your alignment. Let all the weight settle. So that's the opposite of holding on, holding in. So notice all the holdings in your body. And see if you can let all that just kind of drip out like water, just falling off the surface of your body. And as you stand nice and tall, but only nice and tall with the skeleton, not nice and tall with your body and your muscles, just your skeleton is nice and tall, very, very vertical skeleton, very tall skeleton, but not the body, just the skeleton. And let your tissues and muscles hang off those very clearly straight bones, just like wet laundry hanging off the structure or the clothesline. Imagine water dripping off your fingertips. Feel the weight settle underside. And then from there, just expand in all directions as you breathe in. And settle back to a sense of core, a sense of a center place. That's where you settle back with your mind and energy. From there, expand out. So it's like a pulsar, a sun expanding out and retracing back. Very large cosmic force, a pulsar. Expanding out, settling back. And have the breath move your body. Expanding in breath moves your body. The settling, emptying out breath allows your body to come back. So it's not your muscles, it's the movement of your breath. And what's moving the breath and directing the direction of